Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana. And we're here today with special guest, Gilbert Mane, who's here to share with us his new book, 7 Steps to Freedom, a systematic guide to what everyone wants. Are you looking to create true freedom in your life? Well, today's guest is here to share with us how to do just that. So Gilbert Mane, educated in Sydney, Australia, graduated with a law degree in 1980. In 1989, he was appointed headmaster of an independent primary school, a position he held for nearly 3 decades. Under his leadership, the school became renowned for its distinctive curriculum, integrating traditional subjects such as mathematics, English, and nature studies with Sanskrit, Latin, Shakespeare, Mozart, philosophy, mindfulness, and practical virtue. In 1975, Gilbert discovered a school of practical wisdom where he encountered exceptional teachers and fellow seekers, eventually becoming a teacher himself. He captured these insights in his book, 7 Steps to Freedom, providing a guide for others. In 2012, he delivered a TEDx talk on education and unity. So let's welcome to the show, Gilbert Mane.
Hi, Marianne. Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Well, my goodness, what an honor it is to have you here and to talk about this book. I loved your book. I thought it was just such an amazing read. What inspired you to write this?
A couple of things. One, it was my own journey that I wanted to record. And two, I was looking after people in a school of practical wisdom. It sounds sort of a bit highfalutin, but this were just ordinary people who wanted to make their lives a bit better and wanted to find out if there was a path to happiness and freedom that could be walked while living a normal life, while taking the kids to soccer practice and going to work and baking cakes and whatever. And over again, they would ask me, is there some kind of book? Is there a primer? Is there some sort of introductory work? And basically the answer was no, there wasn't one really. And I looked around for one and one didn't exist. And I thought, well, if no one else is going to write it, I might as well write it myself. So what I tried to do is put down enough practical wisdom and things that I'd learnt on the way. That's because anyone's treading this path is going to run into obstacles, find pitfalls, and have problems, basically. Doesn't sound very appealing, but the payoff is really worth the effort. And I found I could add value by pointing these out and helping people to overcome them.
So, during your journey, and you've had quite a remarkable journey, what are some of the barriers that stop people from reaching any kind of level of freedom in their lives?
One of the weird ones is it's like you can't get out of a prison unless you actually know you're in one. And a lot of people sort of have a sense of angst or anxiety at a low level, but low enough that it doesn't intrude on their lives. You need to want to be free, and that is the first real barrier. There's plenty of wisdom around. There are plenty of people who know what they're talking about. There are plenty of people who can help. There's lots of books, there's movies, there's lectures, podcasts. But you have to want to be free, and you have to be able to hear. In the Bible, Jesus keeps talking about those who have ears to hear, let them hear. And the first barrier is getting ears to hear. And then there are several other barriers, and one of them is just inertia, habit. Mark Twain said, habits are habits and are not to be flung out the window, but are to be coaxed downstairs one step at a time. And we all know that's true. There's a certain inertia in our lives. And one of the things about the 7 steps is the first step is actually the most important, obviously, because it is the first step. And that really just involves hearing something helpful from someone who wants to help, like, you should drink less, or you should try this simple exercise to come into the present moment a little bit more. That would help you reduce your anxiety levels. But then the really, really important part is you saying, oh yeah, that sounds reasonable. I might try that. That's the first step over and done. The second step is when you get to work and you actually cut out the odd glass of wine or whatever, or you actually sit down and practice some sort of mindfulness exercise a couple of times a day just to see if you can really get in touch with something true that's within yourself.
Well, you mentioned a few things also in your book that I was real impressed with, and it's self-limiting beliefs. And I think people don't even know that they have those. And then also
Mm.
changing our habits. So, how do people get to this place where they're like, they can really identify that they have beliefs that are holding them back?
Yeah, it's interesting. One of them is to just see patterns in your life. Do you get divorced and then remarry with the exact same person that you were married to before? Do you leave a job because the boss is on your case and find yourself in exactly the same situation again? That doesn't mean you shouldn't remove yourself from a situation of peril or danger. That's, I suppose, I should sort of preface all of my remarks. If you've got a real problem, you need to find real solutions. If you've got a psychological trauma or whatever in your life, you need to find professional help. But this is for people who, they're living their lives normally, but they find themselves always in the same situation. They're always getting angry at the same things, they're always getting impatient with the same sort of people. There's a pattern developing here. So why is that? What is it about you that creates that situation? So the first step is really to look within, because I think it's probably fair to say that what I see in the world now is a lot of people who are trying to change the world because they're unhappy. I'm unhappy. All you guys have got to change. The climate's got to change. The society's got to change. The government's got to change. My spouse has got to change. Everything's got to change. Well, that's what a friend of mine would call a job with a future, because basically, I've got bad news. It's never going to happen. The only person you've really got any real control over is yourself. And having said that, most people sort of don't. So that's where you need to start. You need to get a sense of your own limits, the box that you have built for yourself that you're living in. Where is it? Where are the triggers? We have these trigger warnings now. It's sort of a common phrase. But the thing about the trigger warning isn't to change the movie or the book or the lecture or the whatever. It's to change yourself so that you aren't triggered anymore. Now, to do that, you need to become self-aware. And to become self-aware, you need to be where you are and you need to be when you are. And the only place you can be is here. And the only time you can be is now. So the very simple first step is to just take out 4 minutes, let's say, from your 24-hour day in two 2-minute slots when you're free and not the kids aren't going to come in and annoy you or the boss isn't bothering you, and you can be untroubled, and then you just connect with the present moment. Your body is always in the present moment. It's like an anchor for a ship that's on a storm-tossed sea. So you connect with your body in the present moment, clothes on your skin, the air going in and out of your lungs, what you can see, what you can hear, what you can taste, what you can smell. The mind will do a little bit of a fandango and a polka while you're trying this. But that's fine. That's what the mind does. Keep coming back to the body for 2 minutes. That's the exercise. And you just do that twice a day for, say, a month. And I'm here to guarantee that that will change things for you in ways that I can't predict and neither can you, but it will change. One of the other barriers to doing this will be forgetfulness, because you'll forget to do it. So, okay, fine. You don't beat yourself up. Sit down, try it again. As soon as you remember, go off somewhere quiet. Go to the I don't know, the stationery room or the wherever, and sit down quietly for a couple of minutes and do the exercise.
That's so very powerful. And your book is such a great guide to walk people through how to do this. Well, on that note, we're going to pause here for a quick break. We've been speaking with Gilbert Mane in regards to his new book, 7 Steps to Freedom, a systematic guide to what everyone wants. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
Are you an author, speaker, or expert who is looking for more publicity? Visit radioguestlist.com and sign up for free interview requests from shows looking for guests. Radio Guest List is the #1 free booking resource for radio, podcasts, and TV talk shows who are looking for experts like you right now. Visit radioguestlist.com and sign up today to get the visibility you deserve.
There comes a moment when you realize you're somewhere special. When you discover that each beautiful creature that you see has been rescued from a life of absolute horror and brought to this incredibly free place. Here's where their lives were forever changed and where yours will as well. Discover over 500 tigers, bears, and lions at the brand new visitor center at the Wild Animal Sanctuary just outside Denver. For more information, visit wildanimalsanctuary.org. Discover true freedom at the Wild Animal Sanctuary.
It's one thing to become attached to your perfect home, but what do you do when that home becomes attached to you? A family in dire need of a fresh start, a mysterious house tied to the past. Buried deep within the foundation of the old Far Hill Manor lies a centuries-old secret. Dark forces or something stronger just waiting to be discovered. Caretaker, a supernatural thriller by breakout authors R.J. Halpert.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
I'd like to thank Jason Eastwood at Guitarfulness for sharing his inspiring music and talent with us. His music is known worldwide for cultivating atmospheres of harmony, inner peace, and clarity. Visit Jason's website at guitarfulness.com. Join his newsletter, be part of his community, and download his music. Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. We're here today with special guest Gilbert Mane, who's here sharing with us his new book, 7 Steps to Freedom, a systematic guide to what everyone wants. In your book, you talk about refinement of the mind. What do you mean by that? And how is that, I know it's step 3, and how is that helpful for us as we are going on our path to freedom?
Well, you look at the things that trouble you, the things that are in your mind, and by mind I mean a sort of a mind-heart sort of nexus, your emotions, your feelings, your thoughts. What are the subjects and objects which your mind likes to play with, like a child in a room full of toys? Which toys does your mind pick? Is it jealousy? Is it insecurity? Is it pride? Is it ego? Whatever. You've got all sorts of things going on in your mind, and you'll have your own, they'll be flavored in your own personal, individual, unique way, although they're not really made up of all that many different elements. There are negative aspects, there are positive aspects. So the refinement of the mind means the clearing of the clutter. I go into it in some detail, it's probably a bit getting into the weeds, but there's a part of the mind that we can actually hear. And some people call it the monkey mind. In Sanskrit, it's called manas, and it's the gatekeeper to the external world. You see something and you start talking to yourself about it. You hear a snatch of a song and it's an earworm and it goes on for 3 weeks. Someone says something that you think might have been a little bit disrespectful and you can't stop stewing over it. This is the monkey mind playing, right? So you've now got to get some sort of control over the monkey mind, and you do this in the same way. You can find a still space beyond all the chatter where you can just rest peacefully. And what this begins to work magic in a funny way. The thing about the clearing of the mind is you don't have to do it. It does itself, and you do it, well, it happens because you come into the present moment, regularly. I'm going to repeat this probably several times, Marianne. Twice a day, 2 minutes, make the effort, become still, become present, be who you are, be where you are. Let the mind jump about a bit, keep coming back, and eventually you'll begin to see the mind. The mind wants to be under control because being out of control is painful and difficult, and it's exhausting. It's why we sort of live a life where we collapse in bed at night, happy that the day is over. Well, why is that? Why don't we enjoy our day? Why do we look forward to sweet oblivion? It's because the monkey mind, it doesn't actually stop when we're asleep, but it stops as far as we're concerned. So what I'm saying is you do step one, you hear something wise. You do step two, you put it into practice, give it a go. And step three begins to take care of itself. The chatter, the noise, the affliction begins to attenuate. That's where tanu manasa is the name for this stage. And the word tanu, we get it into English as tenuous. It begins to thin out.
You actually quote and discuss many wise minds throughout your book. And it has me thinking, what was your background in this field of practical wisdom? It sounds so intriguing. Can you share that with us?
Sure. Well, I was raised, actually, my parents were actually members of the Communist Party of Australia. So we were, I think, Jewish adjacent would be one way of putting it, secular Jews. My mother wasn't Jewish and my father was. He came from Europe. But we definitely weren't raised in a religious household. We didn't really discuss it, but I'm assuming they were atheists, and we were. But then I began to have, very early on, my main memory from being very, very young is wondering how people knew stuff, how they knew how to do what they did. And also the other thing that began to trouble me was, why did people, and I include myself, do things that they shouldn't do, say things that that were hurtful and they didn't want to say? Why didn't they do the things that they knew they should do? And why didn't they say the things they knew they should say? What was going on? What was the controlling force in people's lives that drove them to do stuff they didn't want to do and shouldn't do? And it kind of really bugged me, basically. And then I began to have the odd spiritual experience. There was one I relate in my book. I was just sitting at a bus stop on my way to school when I was about 10. And suddenly I was looking at a tree, and it was like that joke about the Dalai Lama ordering a hot dog. I was one with everything. I was universal and limitless, and it came out of basically nowhere. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this, Marianne, but you have this blissful experience of wonderful unity, and you can't get back. It's there for however long it's there for. It wasn't long, just a few brief moments. And then I couldn't find that door again. I didn't know where the key was. I didn't know I didn't know what house I was in. It was incredibly frustrating. It was delicious and blissful, but incredibly frustrating. And it really drove me on for years, when I look back now, to find a teacher, find someone who knew what they were talking about, who could explain those two things. Why are we puppets and do things we don't want to do? And how can I get back into that universal, limitless space again? And lucky me, when I was 20, my brother actually found the school, and it was a school of human development, a school of mindfulness training, of practical wisdom, which I signed up with when I was 20. And it was so strange. I walked through the door and I sat down in the room, and the lecture began, the class, and I thought, oh my God, I'm here. I've found it. This is it. I knew from almost the first word out of the mouth of whoever was tutoring. He became a very dear friend. He's passed away subsequently, but I just found myself. I was like home. I'd come home, and then then the work began. It's not all beer and skittles, as they say. It's you actually have to put in the work. And one of the reasons you've got to put in the work is because you put in the work, as it were, being the prodigal son, if I can quote the Bible again. You've what did he do? He wasted his substance on riotous living. We've all done that in our own way. Now you've got a bit of work to do to get back. And it's not work that's imposed on you. You've done it to yourself. And in a funny way, it's joyous work, because while you've accumulated burdens, jealousies, hatreds, anger, all of these things, as you've moved away and away and away, now you're coming back home, you're jettisoning them, you're leaving them behind, you're becoming lighter and lighter and lighter. It's a wonderful, it's hard. We're sitting there, we're talking as if this is a normal thing, but it is a very joyous thing. This is true happiness.
Well, I've had one of those moments where it felt like I was one with everything, and I
Mm.
understand what you're talking about. And it was watching geese take flight, and I could not. It happened quickly. All of a sudden, it's like I got it, and all it was gone.
Yes.
And then then the journey begins. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Oh,
had one of my seminal experiences. I'm in this school and I'm studying, and I became a tutor in it. And I was very faithful, and they're wonderful people, wonderful companions. One of the key elements to this whole journey is what in Sanskrit's called good company, satsanga, and it's just joining a group, being with like-minded people, walking shoulder to shoulder with fellow seekers, just people who are interested in what you're interested in. And it's nothing it's nothing sort of esoteric. You don't join a monastery or anything. I certainly didn't. I wasn't interested in that. It was just people who were also struggling along the way. And as I did the exercises that were suggested, and I failed and I forgot, and then I remembered and I worked, and it was all very normal, I would occasionally have exactly the same experiences as you and I have just described. And they would come out of the blue, and they would be amazing and wonderful and blissful, but there was no cause to them, if I can put it that way. There's nothing I did that made it happen. And there was no cause for it ending. It just stopped. It was like, again, remember my first question. How come we seem to be under the control of external or internal forces of which we have no access to? And there was one point where I sat down and I kind of had this talk to the limitless. This is kind of a Jewish thing. We kind of talk to God in a grumpy sort of way, quite the stiff-necked and brass-browed people. So I said to the universe, I said, look, thanks. It's great. I've loved it. These experiences have been wonderful, and I really, really appreciate. I'm incredibly grateful, but I don't want them anymore. Give them to someone else who needs them. What I want is a path that I can tread myself, that I know how to do it. I know how to get back to that door. I know how to unlock it. And I know how to open it. And I know how to step through. And I can repeat the experience. And even more importantly, I can teach others how to do it as well. And it's like, I felt like a bit of an idiot, actually, because I got exactly what I asked for. I just thought, why didn't I ask earlier? I suppose you've got to be ready. But yeah, I got that. I found, I was guided to along a path where the experiences are reproducible, and that's part of the reason for the book as well. To put in exercises and practices that anyone can do anytime they like, and they will begin to unlock that door. It may not happen immediately, but it will begin to happen.
I think that's so exciting for so many people that are looking to make some type of progress in, if not their own spiritual path, but their self awareness. What would you like readers and our listeners to take away from this book?
Get started. The first step is the most important step. Take the first step. Go free. I look around the world and I see so much unhappiness, so much misery, so much anger, so much division, and it's distressing. It's upsetting, because I think the help is at hand, and all you need to do is turn towards it. Open your you take a half an inch step towards freedom, and the universe sends a tsunami of help your way. Take the first step, and if the first step is my book, great. It doesn't. I'd love it to be, because that's why I wrote it. But there's so much help on offer, and if you get my book, start it. If it's your cup of tea, brilliant, keep going. It's not reading it cover to cover, maybe a bit of a stretch, but dipping into it and learning from it and doing the practices and just going free, stepping out of anger, stepping out of hatred, stepping out of division and conflict. It's the world you'll be a better place, but your friends and family will notice. And the people who you walk amongst, they'll see you. You may not even know who you help. You'll be standing next to someone. Can I tell you one last story? I went into a cafe and I was queued up to pay, and there was a young man at the head of the queue, and there was an older lady next, and then there was me. And the man paid for his lunch, and then he paid for the lady. And I thought, oh, they must be together. I just assumed they were, they didn't look like they were together, but they must be, having lunch together. But she looked surprised. And he said, what are you doing that for? And he said, oh, I do one random act of kindness a day. It's just my thing. I'll just do something for someone else for no reason. And I thought, wow, that's so good. that's what a wonderful thing. And the shopkeeper, the cafe owner was happy. I was happy. Everyone else was happy. That joy just spread out and out and out. And what a wonderful world we'd live in if we were just to take up that sort of simple acts of kindness. And reading my book can just help you get connected to yourself so that you've got the space to look after yourself and look after others.
Well, I thought 7 Steps to Freedom was a phenomenal read, Gilbert. What a great book. Where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about your work?
Oh, sure. Look, I've got an author Facebook page, and you just Gilbert Mane author, Mane. As I say to people, either lion or horse, your choice, a mane. And because a lot of people find it weirdly difficult to spell. And also I have a website, gilbertmane.com, which has all my writing and my because I write novels as well, which they're not like 7 Steps to Freedom, but you'll find, if you're looking, you'll see things in there that are helpful as well. So they're the 2 places, my website and my Facebook page.
Well, Gilbert, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you, Marianne.
Well, thank you, Gilbert. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new book, 7 Steps to Freedom, a systematic guide to what everyone wants. 7 Steps to Freedom is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and everywhere books are sold. And remember, support our indie bookstores. If you don't see it on the shelf, just ask for them to order it. You can learn more about Gilbert's books and his work at gilbertmane.com. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.